Hello and welcome to Claret and Blue and our Inside Bodymoor show. I'll apologise straight away for my voice. It sounds terrible, I'm aware. I'm still ill. But I thought we'd just jump on to do our... I'm calling it the Inside Bodymoor for Luton, but it's not really about the press conference this week. There was a limited press conference after the European game, as we've seen every game so far this season. Premier League productions go to Bodymoor, and there's a quick TV broadcast section and not much else. So, John, you weren't there, so I'm not really going to focus on Emery too much. We're just going to have a broader conversation about Alkmaar and Luton Town as well. First of all, how are you? Do you feel better than I sound and look?
Yeah, I presume so. Yeah, I'm doing well, thanks, Dan. Thoroughly enjoyable week away in Alkmaar. The win makes it a whole lot better as well. And yeah, heading into a Luton game where Villa are expected to win. Again, we're not going to take them, lightly, but obviously we're clear favourites to win that game. And if we do, consolidating the position in the top 5 again, Nottingham Forest away than Fulham. So yeah. I'm really excited about where Villa are going in the current time, if you will. But then obviously it's a very exciting time going into the rest of the season as well, and we're in a really good position.
We spoke about this on Thursday with Dan, so I'm getting carried away a little bit, but Villa's record of wins at home at Villa Park since 1983, I think it is 13. Obviously, Luton tomorrow would make that 12, and then Fulham is the next home game. So, I'm backing Villa to at least match that record of 13, to be honest, because we're on such good form and we're the favourites in both of those games. And to be fair, we're the favourite in a lot of games now, aren't we? Because we're a good side, and that's a bit of a difficult place for us as fans to get used to, I think, going there tomorrow and in future weeks thinking, we're the better side, we should win here. We're not used to that.
Yeah, and we're scoring a lot of goals doing it as well.
Yeah.
I'm writing a piece this afternoon, just kind of, I don't know, when Emery first came in, there was a lot of sort of warnings from some sections of the media basically saying, and they would have been more informed than what we were because they were either covering Arsenal or PSG or whoever, but kind of saying, Villa will probably climb the table because Emery's a good manager, but it might not be exciting or it might be a bit over pragmatic in, some points, but that has not been the case at all. I believe Villa have scored the second most goals at home after their first 4 games of the Premier League season in history. I think Man City have the most, of course. First 4 home games of the season, they've got the most. Then Villa second, scoring 17 goals in that time. So it's crazy, really. We're not just beating teams. More often than not, we're thrashing teams and outplaying them, not conceding many goals either. So it's a bit surreal. And it's still taking time to get used to going into every game thinking, we should win this. But Luton at home, I think that's probably a game that previously we would have looked at and thought, that's a team that are going to come to Villa Park and try and frustrate us. And yes, they will do that. But you're thinking like Forest, for example, drew 2-2 from a couple of bad defensive areas. But Villa, touch wood at the moment, they don't have that in them to make those. I really jinxed it there and over. They don't have that, streak in them where they're relaxing too much or, not focusing. Emery demands 90 minutes of full concentration from all his players. And if that is the case, Villa should win that game.
In years gone by, we'd have looked at this game, and some still will, and think, "Oh, it's a bit of a banana skin, that though, isn't it? You never know what might happen. We should be beating Luton. It's not arrogant to suggest that they've got 5 points. Villa have got 19. I know it doesn't work like that, but we're at home. Like we should win. Like let's not all get too scared about something that probably isn't going to happen.
Luton are actually better away from home than they are at home. I think when they got promoted, there was this thing of like, going to Kenilworth Road will be, something that people aren't used to. And while yes, that is the case, most Premier League clubs or players haven't, played at that stadium or stadiums like that. I believe they got more points away from home anyway than at home. I think their home form was like kind of mid-championship level last season. Their away form was fantastic. So not expecting it to be an easy game tomorrow by any stretch of the imagination. But if Villa can get a goal ahead, we're so good on the counter-attack. The AZ Alkmaar manager said before the game, actually, on Thursday, that Villa were masters of the counter-attack, and Luton will probably feel that at some point tomorrow if Villa do go ahead.
You mentioned about like they're better away from home, and whilst that is true, I've just had a quick look through the table. It is a small sample size because they've only got 5 points, but 4 of those points have come away from home. They beat Everton and then the draw at Nottingham Forest last time out as well, so only 1 point at home for them. So yeah, they would look at that thinking, oh well, we're better away, but not many teams come to Villa Park and get any points, never mind somebody as inferior as Luton Town to Villa, let's say. between watching it and playing the game, it's going to be like a couple of hours. I'm aware that this could look stupid like by the end of today as people are watching it probably, but I'm kind of like nailing my colours to the mast that I'm pretty sure we're going to win on Sunday. I really am going to be so gutted if we don't.
Yeah, I'm trying to kind of tone myself down a little bit, but you're right, and I respect everything that Luton's done. Emery said in his presser that he respects so much about what they've done, and considering the players that they have, and the impact Rob Edwards has had after Nathan Jones as well, which is like nothing short of remarkable. And we said it a couple of days ago, I think it was on the Monday show, that you have to respect this team, because if you don't, they will work harder than you, and they will do everything in their power to win that game and get something out of it. But yeah, I was just thinking, obviously Villa are on this 11-match winning run at the moment. If they win against Luton, then that's 12. Then obviously Fulham at home, that would be to match it. So that's going to be quite an event. Villa would hopefully be able to beat Fulham anyway, but that kind of gives it an extra edge. Then the next game after that to actually get the record is Man City, which just thinking ahead, which is probably very unwise of me. If Villa were to win the next 2 home games, which again is, it's likely if they play to their best ability, then that Man City game, God, could you imagine, this is the game to like set a record, a club record, something that probably won't be matched in a long time again, because winning that amount of games is something quite remarkable. Especially for a team who aren't competing for titles, unless we are this season, I don't know. But yeah, that Man City game will be quite something. Again, looking into the future, like quite some way down, which I shouldn't do.
I think we're that one result against a side that's above us, away from probably some serious recognition of that. Okay, Villa are
Tottenham.
Villa. Tottenham are probably the ones, aren't they? If you go to Tottenham away and they're still first or second, and you beat them at their place, that would be something that people would stand up and look at. But at the moment, you play the game that's in front of you. You beat Luton tomorrow. You try and beat Forest. Try and beat Fulham. And if there's a record there to play for, and you've got Man City, and you can get them on the ropes, and they're second, and you beat them and leapfrog them or something silly like. Maybe we are in for a title charge here, mate. Let's just calm down a second.
I think the only thing I would say is that we are on like cloud 9. We're on a crest of a wave, and it doesn't show any sign of stopping. But every team that does go on these runs, and any top team, any top 4, top 6, traditional top 6 team, they will all tell you there will be a game where you do struggle and you don't have a shot on target for 80 minutes, and you've got to get something out the bag somehow. You don't play well, and that I feel is coming up for Villa because they've been so good.
I feel like that could be Forest away. That feels like the kind of game for me.
Possibly so, and that any away game that can happen. But I just mean at home as well. Like maybe it's Fulham, maybe it's Luton. I don't know, but we're not going to beat every team 5-0. It's just not going to happen. I mean, it's mental to even say that. Like, I think Villa fans know that. But the way we're playing at the moment, Villa could feasibly beat teams 3-4-0. Because they're that good. But it's not going to happen every week. I think Palace, to be fair, was that game, and they turned it around through John Duran's fantastic goal, and then some, brilliant character at the end of that game to win. So, it's going to be a difficult game on Sunday, but a game where I think if Villa can just play to their strengths and get their advantage, then, you're playing on the counter-attack, then something that they're very good at, and I don't think Luton will be able to handle that. It's going to be a different game if they don't concentrate, if we make some silly errors, try and passing the ball around too dangerously, who knows what happens after that? Maybe a foul play, a red card. Those sorts of things change games and the complexion of things. So Villa just have to play their own game. Every Premier League game is so difficult. It really is. And Luton deserve to be in this division. They beat Everton 2-0 away. An Everton team who are poor this season, but I think they're better than where they were last year. I think Luton showed a good character as well to get a point against Forest. So Villa will have to be on the game. And then, coming in after Thursday as well, I think it's a great opportunity to, really mark Emery's first year in the job. West Ham 4-1, Alkmaar 4-1, then Luton at home. Hopefully that's 3 wins on the trot.
4-1 again, possibly. Or we'll save predictions. We'll do that in a sec.
I think
I said that at the beginning of this show that we're going to go away from the usual structure of Inside Bodymoor, so I'm not flashing up the press hour, injury updates and things like that. One of the subjects that we normally talk about, though, is away from match day. I just want very briefly just a bit of colour from you about what that trip to the Netherlands was like. I know you were over there from Tuesday, I think, till yesterday morning. So took in a little bit of the city and whatnot, and the press conference before and the match itself. So just talk to me a little bit about how good that was, because just watching it on TV or on the app looked brilliant, to be fair.
Yeah, really enjoyed the trip. Alkmaar's a really beautiful city as well. I'm not going to kind of go into my tourist guide like I did for when I visited Guimarães in Portugal, but really nice city and enjoyed myself. Villa fans enjoyed themselves as well. I mean, a lot of them were in Amsterdam, and it's actually a bit of a. It's not. It's about 20 minutes, half an hour to get from Amsterdam to Alkmaar. About half an hour in the car. But it's a bit expensive. Like everyone cycles in the Netherlands, and I don't know whether there's like fewer Ubers or whatever, but it's about 50, 60 euro just to get across. Wow. Whereas I don't know, a half an hour trip in Birmingham would be what I don't know, 25 quid maybe, something like that. So you have to get a train over. There's a lot of trains, and they're obviously much cheaper, like £10 from Amsterdam to Alkmaar. But it's a bit of a journey to keep going there and back. So I didn't actually experience anything of Amsterdam. Obviously, I was working during the time anyway, so I couldn't just kind of go back and forth. But Alkmaar was, really beautiful city. Lots of canals, bridges, very like traditional. I felt a lot of back streets that are like canal side, like bars and stuff. So really nice. I'm definitely going to go back there. It's like very romantic, I thought. Which added a bit more.
You're trying to take me on a date here, John.
Trying to hit you up, yeah. So I'll probably take my partner there. But it was, in terms of the football, really good. Again, a lot of fans were in Amsterdam, so I didn't get as much like video and stuff as I would have liked to. And by the time the fan park was kind of getting going, I had to be in the stadium like 2 hours before. So I was a bit frustrated about that. But about a 40-minute walk from the town centre to Alkmaar Stadium. Really pleasurable experience, and I will be going back there. My travelling back yesterday was a bit long, though. I got up at about 4 a.m. For my flight, which was a connecting flight from Dublin, which was a lot cheaper than going straight to like, I don't know, Manchester or Birmingham or something. But got up at 4 and then got back home at about 4 as well. So that was long. So I didn't really enjoy my day off, should we say? But I can't complain at all. Really good experience, and to win 4-1, in terms of the football itself, Villa were fantastic. And I said before that AZ will probably be a really difficult game. Kind of with the counterpoint of, but as long as Villa are on their game themselves, and they'll, we can beat those teams for sure. But it was just because Legia and Zrinski was so worrying, in my opinion. The only thing I would say is that the atmosphere was not as intimidating at all as what it was in Legia, in Warsaw, sorry. But, fair play to Villa, that's because they didn't give many chances away, and they played very well themselves. I just thought AZ were a bit, I wouldn't say disappointing, because I was happy with how they played because they weren't great, but I'm sure their fans and manager would have been a bit, that was an opportunity wasted, I think. So a lot of those players will want to be playing for Premier League teams. That's how Dutch football works, and they really didn't show themselves, particularly well. Their strikers scored like 13 goals in 9 games and misses a one-on-one. So for Villa, fantastic result and a really good experience. I'm sure a lot of the fans who went over there really enjoyed themselves as well.
Back to Luton then. I feel a little bit like how we've spoken at the start about how I'm fully expecting them to win, and that just comes off the back of what Villa have been like this season or in recent weeks, to do what we did to Brighton, to West Ham, to AZ in the week. To come into this game against Luton and not back Villa to win would be foolish, wouldn't it? So I don't. Some people will see it as arrogance or whatever. I'm just we'll win, but that's just the way I feel about Villa at the moment. We won't do a predicted 11 as such, because I think it's pretty much Villa's strongest 11 picks itself. The only two that are possibles are Bailey or Zaniolo on the left hand side, which I suspect it will be Bailey. Well, Zaniolo started the last Premier League game, didn't he? I think, and possibly Tielemans coming in to the middle for one of Luiz or Kamara, but those two are so good together that I don't think there's need to split that up, and that's just harsh and unfair on Tielemans that he's trying to get into one of the best midfields in the Premier League.
Yeah, I would make. I'd bring Bailey in and play him off the right, actually, so we can link it with Diaby, John McGinn on the left, and then I'd keep that. I'd keep that midfield too. I just don't. There's no need to change for like a week off, not a week off, but, a week to prepare for
a midweek game.
Yeah, which is it's a long time for Villa, who have played a lot of football in the last few months. Sorry. Tielemans, by the way, fantastic against AZ. Really pleased for him, because there really was very few signs that he was adapting to this system at all. But Emery said, after the match, he's 100% confident that he'll be able to contribute, and he just needs to adapt to the structure and system, which I think is fair, because we know he's a top player. Like, you don't just turn into a poor player overnight and lose your ability to run, as some people were suggesting. But it's about fitting into a new structure that he hasn't played in before, and he's playing under a manager, credit to Brendan Rodgers and other managers that he would have played under, before at Monaco and stuff, but Emery's probably the best of the bunch, and he's probably learning different things that even he hasn't been exposed to, even though he's a top player. So like most players, it's going to take time to adapt. I think especially in a midfield, as you say, Dan, that's so good, it's always going to take longer. For example, Torres might have been in this position because Mings maybe have be playing more. Might have been harder for him to play. Diaby less so because he's come in and to plug a position that was missing. So Villa strengthened in the summer and bought players in stacked positions already. Mings gets injured, so Torres has a kind of a free run at that. Tielemans hasn't had that opportunity, but if he's contributing throughout the season, Villa can go far in the Conference League. He will have played his part in that, I'm sure.
Yeah, you could argue that maybe we don't need somebody like Kamara against Luton if Villa are to be the favourites and have the majority of the ball, but I just don't think you split up at kind of a combination that works in such an important part of the pitch.
Yeah, unless there's unless he's kind of dealing with a bit of a niggle or something, anything like that,
of course.
Maybe take the load off them. But if they're all fully fit, I agree, Dan. Just no needs to make changes just because it's Luton.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Emery, as we've said, as much as we might be like, we're going to win, Emery will be fully respectful, and if the strongest team is available, that's the team that will play.
Whether it's the legendary Lionesses, grassroots, or expert analysis of the women's leagues, Women's Football News has it all covered. A brand new monthly magazine packed with news, interviews, and expert opinion. Don't miss Women's Football News. Pick up a copy today from participating retailers. Women's football is here to stay, and so are we.
We'll end this little mini show then with predictions. So in our mini predictions league, I've got 12 points now for the season. John, you've got 8. That's boosted by my correct result and scoreline against West Ham. For Luton, a couple of little mini stats on them if I can find the right tab. They've only failed to score in 3 of their 9 Premier League games, but have conceded 2 or more in 5 of those 9 games. So, as I'm ahead in the predictions league and I can't be accused of copying, I'll go first and I'll say 3-0 Villa.
Probably about right. Again, I don't like copying these predictions. So, on that as well, Luton are the first team since 1995 to not keep a clean sheet as a newly promoted team. In the first 9 games since Bolton. So that surprised me a little bit. Again, I don't know if I thought they'd kept a clean sheet, but that must be quite alarming to see the shipping those amount of goals. I was thinking maybe just a 1-0 Villa win because, as I said previously, there's going to be those games where Villa are just going to have to grind it out. But I'm going to pip you by 1 goal, Dan, and say 4-0.
I feel like it could be that kind of game that you mentioned that's a little bit tetchy or whatever to begin with, but I think once Villa score, the floodgates might open a little bit.
They're so good on the transition, as the AZ boss said previously, and we know it. Diaby, Watkins, McGinn, the fullbacks bomb on it. It's so hard to deal with. Never chance.
I'll further my prediction by having Diaby to score as well. Just feel he's due a goal in the Premier League, or actually Diaby for 2. Let's make this a specific prediction.
You don't get extra points.
I'm already ahead anyway, mate. I'm just thinking if this little clip ends up on social media after, because I've called it right again, then I can be very, very smug about it, can't I? Just make sure I look all right for Twitter.
If this is on social media, by the way, he's also gone through Watkins is going to score twice. He just obviously clipped it out.
Right, we'll call it a day there, John. Just a mini little show just to chat about Luton. I feel like we had to at least try and cover every game. As you said, you were travelling a lot yesterday. I've been unwell since Thursday, but better to do something than nothing at all. Yep. There'll be a post-match show, probably with me and Kendrick tomorrow afternoon. It's a 2:00 kickoff. I appreciate there's very little time to watch this as this comes out and the game kicks off tomorrow. So if you've listened through for the last 20 minutes or so, we appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you Sunday afternoon and then again for the Monday or Tuesday show. I'm not sure when it is this week, as we look at the wider talking points around Aston Villa. John, thank you for joining me. Thanks everyone for watching or listening, and we'll see you Sunday afternoon.